Welcome back to Offensive, Week 11 in review of the NFL. You got Netbeard here. You got Chief over there. There's no hype today. He's on a trip doing some stuff we don't want to talk about. It's probably illegal. But the good news for you guys is this show's all hype, just like the Chicago Bears. Dave, how you doing?
Oh, it's a beautiful day. The birds are singing. Dogs and cats are getting along. And the Bears are on top of the North all by themselves, just like everyone said they would.
All by themselves. Now, we're going to get into the Bears later because I have a lot of opinions on this. But before we do,
all accurate.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But before we do, let's actually look at this week's games. So there was a lot, and let me move it. There we go. That's a little better. So there was a lot of like turnover as far as like what the playoffs look like in this week's matchups, but a lot of expected wins. Let's start with the one we thought was going to be the best game of the week. It ended up being a really good game, but really ugly. The Los Angeles Rams defeat the Seattle Seahawks 21-19. 4 interceptions for Sam Darnold. The Rams defense looks legit. The Seahawks defense looks legit because they actually did a really good job staying in this game with 4 interceptions. But, I mean, Sam Darnold, I told you I don't trust him. And this just kind of shows me that I'm right because, gosh, 4 interceptions. What do you think went wrong for him in the game, Dave?
Sam Darnold, when he got to play under play action, he did really well. He was 9 of 10 for 74 yards. But when it was non-play action, then he kind of got in a little bit of trouble. He was 20 of 34, and that's where he got, his picks. He only threw for 205 yards on all of those. It was just the Rams getting the pressure with their front four. And the great thing with their pressure is they just did a whole lot of stunts to confuse the offensive line. And then you also saw the Seahawks, they lost their first-round draft pick, their offensive lineman. When he went out of the game and they're already without their starting center, that just made it even more difficult for Sam Darnold. And it helped that, with those turnovers, they gave the Rams a couple of short fields. The Rams jumped on them early, got out to that 14-0 lead. But then the Seattle Seahawks defense was able to clamp down. They pretty much they pretty much delayed the Rams offense from doing anything. They didn't score at all in the second or third quarter. And it allowed Sam Darnold in the offense to find their footing to try to get him back into the game. And, it was great. He throws 4 picks and he's still able to march him down the field to give him a shot at, granted, it was a little bit longer than they would have liked, but at least a last second field goal to try to still win the game. So you can see what you want, Sam Darnold seeing ghosts and whatnot. But they were still in the game. They never gave up. That defense, you always got a shot with that defense. It was fantastic to see.
I agree. These are 2 really well-coached teams, 2 really disciplined teams, 2 creative teams, and 2 teams with just a bunch of talent. And when the Rams, even when they're struggling, they still got Adams. They still got Nacua. Stafford just kept trying to feed Adams in the end zone, and it's really hard to stop. It's really hard to stop him one-on-one. I think the Rams are pretty clear the class of the NFC. Now, the other team,
they're pretty clear. I think this is a matchup because of the strength of both of these defenses and how they win. They don't need to blitz a lot. I think you can have this matchup play 50 times and one team will win it 26 times and the other win at 24. I think it's pretty close margins.
That's fair. We were kind of talking before the show a little bit that we really think it could be a Seattle LA Rams NFC Championship game matchup. Because watching that Eagles, so the next game we'll talk about is that Eagles-Lions game. Yes, the Eagles defense looked good, but both of these teams didn't really impress me at all last night. It was another ugly game. The Eagles got that penalty at the end. The Detroit Lions stopped a tush push, and everybody was freaking out about that. The Eagles' offense is just kind of not great, if I'm being honest. And their defense has been better. They started off kind of slow. Their defense has been better. Beating the Lions is impressive, but the Eagles, just like they beat the Packers, they've had to block 3 field goals to win games this year. So they play just these ugly, slow, gritty games, and that'll get you to the playoffs and that'll get you some wins in the playoffs. But I don't know if these Eagles can beat either Seattle or the Rams. Those 2 teams just look better to me, better than the Lions and the Eagles. Do you agree with that?
I think Jalen Phillips, he's a former first-round draft pick. He's taken back in 21 of the first round. I think he has been able to provide just a little bit extra for that defensive line, so they're able to get that push. Just with 4 rushing for, like we said before, with the Rams and with the Seahawks. We didn't think that he'd be great. He's on an expiring contract, but I think he is just that one last missing piece that they're hoping to get, because Howie Roseman, he's a fantastic GM. But yeah, as far as, you want to see both sides of it. You don't just want to see the defense. That defense is elite. It is in the top 3 tier. But yeah, I don't really believe in the Eagles offense. They have the pieces, but they're not executing. So yeah, I think they're a distant third after those first two. I really do.
I agree. And I would say this too about Detroit. Like, they can't get pressure really well with 4. Green Bay tried to make some changes this year to get pressure with just 4. Green Bay can get pressure with just 1, which is Micah Parsons, and the other 3 linemen are useless. So they can't really get pressure with just 4. But the teams that can, like the Eagles, the Seahawks, and the Rams, you always find those teams deep in the playoffs. And then it really depends on what their offense plays like, right? So yeah, I think these 3 teams are pretty obviously the 3 teams to beat in the NFC. Detroit's not quite the same it was last year. And Detroit isn't going to go 0 for 5 on 4th down every game, guys. No. Detroit had opportunities to win this game. I mean, people are like, oh, Dan Campbell, this is what happens. Well, yeah. Do you know how many games Dan Campbell has won going for it on 4th down a bunch of times? Like, it's bound to cost him, and it has cost him. But he's going to do it again. That's why we love Dan Campbell. He could go 0 for 12 in a game, and he would still do it again. He does not care. And you got to love it about the guy.
And I think if Jameson Williams doesn't get that boneheaded penalty on that touchdown of his, they're able to kick the extra point. And then I think when it was 4th down and 5 from the 5-yard line, then I think maybe, the math is a little bit different. So I think Dan Campbell kicks the field goal. So it's only a 3-point game, unfortunately, because they, the windy conditions and whatnot caused them to miss the extra point. It was a hell of a win. There's a lot of rough kicking yesterday because of the storms and the weather conditions.
We'll get to missing extra points later, because that happened a lot in the Packer game. But
but I still think that changed a lot of the math of that game for Dan Campbell.
That is actually a really good point. I agree with you. I think if it is a 7, I think if it's a 7-13 game there, it just makes a ton of sense when it's 4th and 6. It's not 4th and short to kick the field goal. Who knows though with Dan Campbell? He could have went for it anyway. But no, good game. But I definitely, those are the 4 most dangerous teams in the NFC. That's just how I see it. And it was cool to see both of them in the matchups this week, and both of them played nasty, ugly playoff-like football. So that was really good. Now let's talk about 2 other playoff teams that did not play playoff-like football, the Bills and the Buccaneers. Now, Baker Mayfield had a decent day, but Josh Allen, 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing. They're just unstoppable sometimes. But again, this is my problem with Tampa Bay. Their defense is not great. They can definitely not get pressure with 4, and they can't really stop good teams. And Buffalo showed it off. And yeah, Baker has magic in him, but you cannot have a mediocre defense and win in the playoffs. You just can't do it. You cannot do it. I don't care how magic your offense is. So I think this kind of settled it for me of what I think the Bucs' chances are. And, the Bills, they're still going to win games like this, but I don't know. We'll get to this more later, but I don't know which Bills team is going to show up every week. Their defense didn't really show up this week, but their offense did. Last week, their defense didn't show up at all, right? And then the week before that, when they played Carolina, their offense was great. So it's like, yeah, the Bills are just really hard to track, but I still think this pretty much sinks it for me as far as the Buccaneers being an actual challenger. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, they're a fun story like they have been for the last couple of years, but yeah, until they're able to get that defense tightened up, it's not fun when you have to score 40 points a game just to win. Yep. And again, they could have scored 40 and they still would have lost yesterday. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, they just couldn't do anything against the Bills at all. Josh Allen basically did whatever he wanted. All right, so let's go to another game that was really important, and we're actually going to transition this into our next segment, which is going to be about the AFC playoff picture. But Kansas City loses in Denver 19-22. Mahomes has 2 interceptions, another crucial one in the red zone, right? Denver gets to them. Denver had some mistakes. Bo Nix feeds his boy from Oregon over and over again, and the Chiefs decide they can't stop it. I mean, there was a lot of chances for Kansas City to win this game, but there was a lot of chances for Denver not to win this game, and they found a way. And Bo Nix played really well again in the fourth quarter. He's basically like, a JJ McCarthy on steroids, because he does it like every week, where JJ just does it once in a while. So yeah, this is huge.
And he's kind of you never really know what he's going to get from the deep ball game, because I think it was last week he was only 2 of 10 on the deep ball. Yesterday he was 4 of 7, and one of them was actually off of Franklin's hand, so it could have been 5 of 7 on the deep ball. And he had some pretty good shots at Franklin, where the cornerback was leaning it a little bit to the outside, so he put it on the inside shoulder to give his wide receiver a chance. Sutton showed up when he needed to. It looked like Kansas City, put a lot of effort into keeping Sutton out of it, because he's been very difficult for them in the past. They game planned really well, but it was nice to see Franklin able to step up and make some of those plays. I think they both finished with around 4 catches, 8 on 8 targets apiece. So
yeah. And so remember last year, Dave, the Chiefs were 10-0 in 1-score games. They are 0-5 now this year. And I think part of the difference is Patrick Mahomes has been making bonehead mistakes and interceptions in the end zone. He had one that went off Kelsey's hands. The other 2 were just terrible. But the other thing is, this defense is just not as dominant as it was last year. They're not getting as much pressure as they were last year. Chris Jones has 3 sacks so far this year, which is not great for him. And I think that's another reason why Broncos and other teams are attacking and having success deep, because they have time to throw. And the Chiefs have always been a blitzing team. I mean, they blitz a lot, right? And it's just not working the same as it has in the past. Now, there's small things that could have happened where the Chiefs could have won. They could have 8 wins right now, or 7 instead of 5. But, these things where you lose these close games are really important. And it's the little things that you don't do that actually make more of a difference than what you do. And, yeah, that's a terrible statement, but you know what I'm saying.
You do, dude.
Than what you do, satisfyingly do. But yeah, no, it's just nice to see the Chiefs lose. And to go on to that, let's go to our next subject. This is the current AFC playoff picture, guys. So we are going to talk about.
Did he see? The Broncos are getting the Colts love from you. You don't even acknowledge he just won 8 straight. You're just focusing on the other team. No love to both.
Hold on. Okay, I'm focusing on how much I hate the Chiefs, not on how the Broncos are great. Okay, that's what I was focusing on, and I'll actually get to that. So let's talk about this, because our subject right now, guys, is who's legit in the AFC. Do we actually believe the Broncos, Patriots, or Colts are going to beat the Bills in the playoffs, or potentially the Chiefs if they make it, or potentially the Ravens if they make it in the playoffs? Do we actually believe these teams are the class?
Do we even think the Chiefs or Ravens are going to make the playoffs?
Right, exactly.
The entire thing is what the AFC for the last 3 years we've been talking about. The AFC is the class of the quarterbacks. All of the elite quarterbacks are in the AFC. The NFC really doesn't have any, which is why, Jalen Hurts is able to do what he did with the Eagles. But the quarterbacks we called the elite were Patrick Mahomes. You had
Joe Burrow, who's injured.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, who's injured every other year.
Yep.
Now you do still have one up there, Buffalo. Their quarterback's still healthy, and he's still in the playoff hunt. And then the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. So 3 of the 4 elite quarterbacks are not even in the playoff picture right now. How ludicrous is that? We thought, these are the top tier offenses. You got to beat these quarterbacks. It looks like maybe the rest of the AFC has kind of figured out a way how to do it.
Yeah. Well,
injuries help some, but Mahomes has played every game.
Yeah, he's played every game, and he's not had his guys, but he had all his guys yesterday, and it didn't seem to make a difference. And I think Mahomes has won 9 straight against Denver. Is that correct? I believe he won 9 straight until yesterday. And he had
something absurd.
Yeah, and he had all of his receivers, right? And Denver was missing Patrick Surtain, right? And Singleton, their best linebacker, right? So they were missing 2 of their best defensive players. He had all of his offensive players, and the Chiefs offense did not look great in that game at all. So, I really think that this AFC turnaround is exciting for this regular season, but I am somewhat hesitant to believe the Broncos are going to win a playoff game, like 2 or 3 playoff games playing this way, because, dude, winning 1-score games is awesome. But do you remember we talked about this last year with the Vikings? The Vikings, when they went 14-2, they won 9 one-score games, right? Last year, Kansas City won 10 one-score games, and they won a bunch in the playoffs, and then they got absolutely boat raced by the Eagles, right? And this year, we'll get to this later, but the Bears keep winning one-score games. And it's like when you win a ton of one-score games, the Commanders last year won a ton of one-score games. It's like, I believe you can go so far, but I don't believe you're an actual Super Bowl contender, because teams that win the Super Bowl tend to dominate and tend to step on throats, and they don't need to scramble around and win one score after one score after one score after one score. So
But
go ahead.
I think the Broncos defense might be the differentiator, because they are at like a historically elite defense as far as the sacks that they've been getting, like the most in 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So that is elite. Normally we like to think that, it's going to be the offense that's going to be elite, but that defense, that's stellar. And like you said, even missing a couple of pieces, they're pretty fantastic. They're getting all of those sacks and everything else. They're getting the pressures. Shoot, they are the Tom Brady Patriots from the beginning of his regime.
The early 2000s Patriots. Yeah.
Where quarterback only needs to score 17 points.
Yep, exactly. If the defense is going to allow 13 to 16 points a game, you got to put 2 touchdowns and a field goal on the board. Like, if you can do that every game, you're going to win. And to be fair,
people look at Bo Nix with his hair and they're like, man, he looks like a young Tom Brady. That's one handsome SOB, right?
No,
not so much.
Nobody says that. Nobody says that. No one says that. And if they do, it's you.
Not even his mama, I don't think.
No, you're just talking to yourself in the mirror, Dave. That's fine. But all right. So legitimately, though, let's talk about the Broncos. I will say this. I think of those 3 teams, the Broncos, Patriots, and Colts, I actually have the most faith that the Broncos could go to the Super Bowl because of that defense. Because when your defense is that good and that dominant, and like you said, you only have to basically put 3 scores on the board, I think they actually have a legitimate chance. The Patriots are such a young team that have been just like I said, I think they're playing on a heater to where I see a lot of issues still with this Patriots team, but they're winning games and they're actually blowing some teams out. So they're almost the opposite of the Broncos, where the Broncos are just barely scraping by. And then the Patriots have a few of those games, but they have a ton of blowouts. But for some reason, I just trust the Broncos defense more than I trust the Patriots offense when it comes down to it, right? And I really think the Patriots offense is maybe not as good as it seems right now, because just they've had a lot of crazy success, but I just don't necessarily believe in the Patriots. So do you think the Patriots could beat the Bills if they played in the playoffs at Foxborough, Dave?
In Foxborough?
Yeah. So the Patriots win the division.
They already won at Buffalo, so I think they would be able to win in Foxborough. Because the thing is, I'd say, you want to look at the quarterbacks. Drake May right now, they're 7th in passing yards, and you can say, well, they don't really have that number 1 stud receiver, except they actually do. They have Stephon Diggs. Booty's been doing surprisingly well. The big problem that you have with Buffalo is, who does Josh Allen throw to? He doesn't have any man beaters on his team. You have Curtis Samuel, who was good 4 years ago, and I loved him. He was fantastic, but he's just a shell of what he is. And you just look at the wide receivers for Buffalo, and none of them really scares you. And then, you're not afraid of them in the playoffs, and then it's going to be up there. It's going to be cold. The ball is going to be slippery. It'll be a little bit icy. I think I trust Stephon Diggs more than I would the Bills wide receiver. So I would give the edge to New England here, as crazy as that sounds.
All right. So
Sean McDermott's defense, their zone, and they get picked apart in the playoffs by smart quarterbacks.
Right. So, okay. This is a Vrabel-led team, and we believe in Vrabel, right? We know he's a good coach. He gets a lot out of his teams. But do you remember the last time that they coached the Titans and they had the 1 seed in the AFC? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen.
They lost.
Out of their weight class. Oh, yeah,
they lost their first game under Vrabel in that season, right? And so I don't know. So some guys are better being the underdog and fighting from underneath, and some guys are better being the top dog and fighting from the top down. I feel like Vrabel is better when he's almost at a disadvantage, than he is when he's supposed to be the better team because of just his style of play and how he is, right? So like
But
I wonder about this Patriots team. Okay, so let's say the
no,
Ravens
I
get
just
the
want
seventh
one.
seed.
I want one comment about that.
Okay.
Who's his offensive coordinator for the Patriots?
Yeah, Josh McDaniels. We all know who he is.
No, and who is his offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans?
I think it was Matt LaFleur. that year.
Exactly.
Okay.
Who do you
don't
trust
touch-
more to draw up a winning
Fair.
game plan in the playoffs?
Fair. No, that's fair. That is fair.
And we're talking about a young Matt LaFleur, so he didn't have any experience. So I think it's a completely different playing field versus when you're talking about Josh McDaniels, who's been there, done that, and he knows
Right.
how to schematically beat up the Buffalo Bills.
I understand that, but okay, so let's say the Ravens go to the Patriots in the first round, right? Because only one team gets a bye now. So
Yep.
let's say the Broncos get the bye, Patriots get a home game, and let's say the Ravens get in at 7, right? So let's say they, the Chargers or the Jaguars fall out, the Ravens get in at 7, or the Chiefs get in at 7. Do you think the Patriots win that game at home?
For that one, that's going to be a tough defense. That one, yeah, I'd give the edge to the Ravens.
Right? So this is what I'm saying. I still have a hard time believing that this new AFC has taken the throne away, right?
Yep.
I need to see it in the playoffs. And so let's get to your Colts now, okay? I have the least faith in them.
I'm all about the horsey teams, Broncos, the Colts. My daughter, she loves ponies, unicorns.
There's other horse things you like too, we know. But but let's talk about the Colts because I have the least faith in the Colts because of Daniel Jones. And like I would imagine. So let's say the Colts play the Chargers. If the Colts play the Chargers, I'm picking the Colts all day because the Chargers in the playoffs are more terrifying than anybody, right? As far as like what they're going to do to themselves. Even with Harbaugh, chargering is still a thing, right? So I could see the Colts winning a game, but if the Colts then have to go to Denver, let's say, right? Like I have zero faith that Daniel Jones is going to play even remotely good football against the Broncos, right?
Oh yeah.
Or if the Bills come to town and play the Colts, let's say week 1, I don't think I can pick the Colts to beat the Bills. I don't see Daniel Jones being successful in the playoffs, especially on the road. I think he could win a home game.
He did beat the Broncos at home, didn't he? Or was that close? I forget.
That was close. And then remember, there was the whole field goal controversy where they missed it. And then there was that flag and then they kicked it and they made it. So no, it was a good game. He did beat the Broncos at home. But I'm saying if the Broncos get the 1 seed, I don't think Daniel Jones has any chance of going into Denver and beating the Broncos. Zero chance.
I agree with that.
So this is why I think the Colts, remember, we're on a bye, Dave. So if they win a bunch of their games and they get the 1 seed, then they could play all home games, and I would maybe have a 5% chance that I think they can do it, right? But if they got to go any road game, I'm not picking the Colts in any road game.
I don't think they're going to finish with a 3 seed because let's just talk about their next games.
All right,
this week they're at Kansas City, then the Texans come to town, then at the Jags division game, then at Seattle, then the Niners come to town, then the Jags, then the Texans again.
So they have all playoff teams right now, basically.
Right.
That is a brutal gauntlet. Now, if they do finish with the 1 seed after that gauntlet, I think all of us are going to have to believe in them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think if they still get the 3 seed, I think that would show a whole lot of stones. Then I'd say, then I could actually have some confidence.
Well,
right now,
they have a good chance to get the 3 seed, Dave, just by winning their division because the Steelers and the Ravens, I don't think will catch them.
Oh, that's true.
So I think they're going to get the 3 seed anyway. This is why I'm saying I think in round 1, if they have the Jags at home or the Chargers at home or the Texans at home, let's say, I definitely see the Colts winning that game at home. But then that means if the 2nd seed wins their first game, let's say your Patriots win, that means the Colts are going to Denver. And I got zero faith they're going to win that game, which is why I'm saying I think Denver is going to be the hardest team of these 3 to get through because defense and Mile High Stadium in the playoffs is a whole different animal than a lot of these other places, right? I would say Buffalo is a very hard place to go to in the playoffs, right? And then probably Denver first, then Buffalo, then probably Foxborough, and kind of everybody else is. Oh, Kansas City too. We're not counting Kansas City, but Kansas City is very hard to go to.
Kansas City's not going to get a home
They're not
game.
going to have a home game. Exactly. That's why I'm not including them, because they're not going to have a home game. They are not winning this division after that loss to the Broncos. That's why this was huge. And I said the Broncos have to win this game to stop Kansas City from winning the division. And now it's pretty clear Kansas City's not going to win the division. Kansas City would basically have to go undefeated. And I just don't see that happening, even though they've got some easy games. I don't think they could win this division.
I just love the whole idea where if the Colts, they got their bye week, they got to see, okay, how did the Broncos beat the Chiefs? If they can beat Kansas City this week, then I think Kansas City is done. I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs because they'd have to win out. We talked about off camera, you need 10 wins to make the playoffs.
Yep.
So they would be
only
5 to lose one the rest of the way.
If they lose this game, they would be 5-6. And even if they won out and finished 10-6, there's a very good chance the Colts win the division and the Jaguars and the Chargers finish around 10-6 or better, or the Texans finish 10-6 and they get the advantage over Kansas City. Because Kansas City has not beaten a team that was, well, I take this back. Kansas City has beaten the Lions, okay? In that game, they beat the Lions at home. But they also beat the Ravens when they were banged up. But they have not beaten a good team on the road yet this year. And they've got a few coming up that's going to be difficult. So I can't see them going undefeated the rest of the year. And I think they're going to lose more than one game. So, yeah, if they lose to the Colts, and they can't lose again. So, yeah, this is going to be tough for them. But, yeah, I do think, Dave, the Broncos have a couple hard games coming up, and they're going to stumble. I have a weird feeling the Patriots get the 1 seed. And lose their very first playoff game. That's just the feeling I get right now, because they'll have the bye. And then, yes, they have Josh McDaniels, but I just don't trust this Patriots defense right now. And if a team like the Broncos goes to New England, I could see the Broncos pulling that out and Bo Nix pulling out some magic and winning 13-9 or something in the playoffs, right? I could see that. Or I could see Buffalo going there and beating them. Or I could see the Ravens potentially going in there and beating them. So, yeah, I think Denver getting home field is absolutely crucial for Denver, right? I think it's crucial for Denver because they have the biggest advantage. But I cannot trust outside of that. If Denver doesn't get home field advantage, I cannot trust 1 through 3. I would still pick the Bills, potentially the Ravens, or potentially the Chiefs to actually make the Super Bowl. I will never pick the Chargers. And I just don't believe in the Steelers at all. And the Jaguars are cool, but do you really see the Jags winning a playoff game? I mean, they just trounced the Chargers, right?
Well, but that's exactly what they do. It's once a month. Trevor Lawrence looks amazing. He looks like the first overall draft pick once a month. And then the other 3 games he has you pulling your hair out because what the hell was that? But so every once in a while he does great against another mediocre team. But in the playoffs, I'm not going to put any hope on them.
Now, the Bills still have a game against the Patriots. Yes, it's in Foxborough, but if they go win that game, right, because they're only 1 game behind the Patriots. So if they win that game, they'll both have 3 losses. And I still feel like the Bills can go on a run. I know they had that crazy loss to Miami, and that works against them because it comes down to division records. So if the Patriots beat both Jets and Miami twice and finish 1-1 with the Bills, then the Bills have to have an extra game on them to win the division. So it's going to be tough for the Bills, but I still think the Bills are the scariest team in the playoffs, just from what I saw from yesterday from Josh Allen. I mean, there's no game plan for Josh Allen. There just isn't. If he wants to run on you and he finds a lane, he can find it. And to be fair, all these Bills losses in the playoffs, Josh Allen has not had a bad game. It's been the defense that has let them down. Right. And it's almost always against Kansas City. And it's almost always in the last 10 minutes of the game. And remember, the last time they lost, Josh Allen drove them down and they missed a 41-yard field goal. Not even that hard of a field goal. They missed a field goal that would have won in the game. So I just trust Josh Allen in the playoffs to play well. And I don't trust any of these teams to stop him, except for maybe Denver at home. I could see potentially doing it. Right. I could see maybe them doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I trust Bo Nix either. So it's going to be interesting, this AFC. Is it a changing of the guard? So we've been talking about it a lot. Do you truly feel like it's been a changing of the guard? Is this the start? Has it already happened? What do you actually think, Dave?
The Ravens, the number of injuries that they had, it's just fluky. Normally you never have a healthy season. If you do, you win the Super Bowl, which is what Green Bay did with Favre back in the day. But you don't really see this level of all of your stars are hurt. It's kind of a fluke. I think, they'll still be, one of the top 3 odds getters in the offseason to make the Super Bowl again next year. They still have a talented roster. They're still going to hold on to Harbaugh. I still think, they're always going to be in it. Andy Reid, maybe he is getting complacent. Maybe he's not being as creative as he used to be. It's kind of what happened at the end of his Philly run, maybe. Because even, Mahomes, he has to carry everything. He isn't able to hand the ball off because their running game is absolutely atrocious. So maybe he's just getting worn down with all the scrambling and whatnot. So they need to go out. They need to get a running back. And again, Vegas is going to give them top 4 odds, but I don't know. Spags just doing all of his blitzes. Maybe other teams are starting to figure it out, but
I think so. So let's actually look at the Chiefs play, or let's look at their possibilities, right? So they've got Indianapolis coming up. This is a must-win for them because
it's my Colts. Remember?
Yeah, sorry.
You keep saying your Colts.
Dave's Horsies. Okay, so Dave's Horsies against.
My people love riding horses in the plains.
That's true. So we all know, but Dave, you could say that. I can't say that. I have no comment. Okay. So they have to win at Indy, or they have Indy at home. Okay. So they have Indy at home. They go to Dallas on Thanksgiving. You feel like they're going to win that game in Dallas. They have Houston at home. Again, another hard team they play at home. Then they go to the then they have the Chargers at home. Again, another hard team at home. Tennessee on the road, Denver at home, Vegas on the road. So here's the good news for Kansas City. The schedule makers gave you a gift where any hard game that you have basically this year has been at home, right? Look at it. Philadelphia at home, Detroit at home, Baltimore at home. They did have Buffalo on the road, but then you get Indy at home and you get Houston at home. So all the playoff teams, they got to play at home basically, and their road schedule is super easy, but they're still only 5-5 with that benefit, right? So it's hard for me to think that they're going to go undefeated. I feel like that Houston game could be trouble. The Chargers game could be trouble. The next Denver game could be trouble. And of course, Indianapolis. And they have to win pretty much all of those games. I think if they lose more than one game, they're not in the playoffs. So this Indy game is huge.
Yeah, Houston's defense can cause a lot of the same problems that the Broncos did yesterday. That is a ridiculous level of talent that they have on the line, on the secondary. Those linebackers can get at you. So, yeah, Houston is going to be a tough game for Kansas City.
It really is. It really is. Yeah, and if you actually look at it, they lost to the Chargers on the road in Brazil. Oh, let's talk about this. Me and you were talking about this. Okay, NFL, if you're going to do international games, don't do divisional games because losing a home game against your division rival is not cool. That's not fair. It's not fair that the Chargers don't get a home game against the Chiefs. Now, yes, they won that game, but do like AFC, NFC matchups or other outside of divisional matchups. When you have a home and away with the same team every year, that should not be an international game. I do not like that. Unless it's the Jaguars because London is their second home, right?
Yeah.
But that's fine for the Jaguars. But for everybody else, yeah, don't waste a home division game. That's not cool. That's not cool. Okay, anyway. So that being said, I still think the Chiefs win at least 4 of these games, though. It's just, can they win 5 is my question, right? Can they win 5 and get into the playoffs? I think it's still very possible, but it's really hard for me to believe that they're going to win. They're going to win Houston, Los Angeles, and Denver. They have to win all 3 of those games because they're going to win Dallas, Tennessee, and Las Vegas, right? And if they happen to lose any of those games, we don't even have to have this conversation.
But just think about, if they lose to Houston, then Houston has the tiebreaker. Yeah. Right now, they have the same record right now. And currently, Houston has the edge because of the better winning percentage against teams they beat or whatever.
Right. And the other teams up there, right? So if they split with the Chargers, it really depends on what the Chargers do against the Broncos because it's going to come down to division record, right? If they both finish 1-1 or the Chiefs lose another game to the Broncos, then the Chargers could get in based on division record. And the Jags, like we said, who are also there at 7, already have the tiebreaker because they beat the Chiefs. So, yeah, it is an uphill battle for this team. And here's hoping they don't make the playoffs, but don't count on it, folks, because don't count on it. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next thing. let's talk about the Bears and the Packers, specifically the Chicago Bears. So, Dave, I actually have this really great clip of the national media talking about the Chicago Bears after they won all these one-score games against terrible teams. Here's an actual clip. So here's the national media. Okay. So the national media dressed up as a bear and masturbated today. While the rest of us, that's us, Conan O'Brien right there, the rest of us who know what football is, shook our heads in disdain while the national media masturbated all over the Bears. So as a legit, Dave, you are a legit level-headed Bear fan. You've watched them win all these one-score games against backup quarterbacks and terrible teams. How good do you actually think the Bears are?
We had a 16-3 lead going into the fourth quarter against the Minnesota Vikings. Again, it kind of felt a little bit familiar against effectively a rookie quarterback who's looked awful. He's had accuracy issues, and we let him come back and take the lead with 50 seconds left in the game. So we are losing 17-16. Dennis Allen, I was saying on Friday how, he's really good at drawing up plays on third down. Going to be exotic stuff that you haven't seen. But yeah, J.J. McCarthy on the very first drive for the Vikings, they were moving the ball down the field. And then he had a fantastic shot to Jordan Addison deep on the left. Addison was open, and JJ threw it at his feet.
Yeah.
Like his accuracy wasn't there. And then the very next play, he had an out to Justin Jefferson. Jefferson, again, on the left side of the field, ran up, cut over. He was wide open. JJ McCarthy missed him wide. So, and there were other opportunities too where, he missed their tight end. If you put in if you put in an average quarterback, the Bears lose that game. Yeah. The Bears aren't up 16-3. We got some gifts from them. We got a turnover that, we were not able to turn into a touchdown. And Caleb admitted that afterwards. He said, we're not going to apologize for anything. We're living in the moment. We're all about now and whatnot. But we also know that on the offense, when we win the turnover battle, when the defense gives us the ball back, we need to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
So when you talk to the locker room, they're not apologizing for winning, but they also recognize we need to score touchdowns. We can't look anemic. All the respect in the world to the Vikings defensive coordinator. Yeah. He's a smart guy. They have a lot of skill on that team. But yeah, the Bears offense, and Caleb on the first drive, he was missing some open throws too. And
yeah, he missed a lot of throws in that game. He missed a good amount of throws in that game, Dave, that I was watching. So
even when you watch his mechanics, like I said, you see that laser arm and you get excited, but then you see him where he drops back, and then it was like a bunch formation on the right hand side, and then they snapped it before the Vikings could figure out who was covering who. You see DJ Moore, he runs right up the field, and he was open. And you see Caleb drop back, and then he just chucks it with the laser arm, but he didn't step into it, so there's no accuracy there. Yeah. So that's one of those things where it's the good habits. You take that little extra half second to get forward, to get your momentum, so that way it's going to be where you want, right here, and it won't just be in the general area. So mechanics still matter. But again, it can be coached up. But are we really the Kings of the North? No. Are we going to beat the Elite Four teams? No. But it's a fun story.
It is. No, and honestly, this is the thing that I was like I actually have a lot of respect for how the Bears have not done typical Bear things in the fourth quarter and found a way to lose. They've instead found a way to win, right? Because for years, Dave, they've been in these games and just not found a way to win them. So, that is a step in the right direction. That is really good. That's what you want to see from Caleb. And I think a lot of that comes down to the preparation from Ben Johnson, the belief in the team, and just knowing that they can find a way to get it done. So I think the Bears are a good team, but they are not the Kings of the North. They have beaten exactly 0 teams with a winning record. 0. And they've played a bunch of backup quarterbacks, and they actually lost to a backup quarterback in Baltimore, right? And now they're going to go play potentially a backup quarterback in Pittsburgh, and they may or may not win that game. So,
and I'd actually like our chances if it was Aaron Rodgers versus Mason Rudolph.
Well, you say that, but Aaron Rodgers owns you guys, so I feel like he would just use his, voodoo power.
He does. Yeah, he just pull out his mortgage for Soldier Field right at the very beginning. He's like, "Hey, see,
Yeah.
no, do what I tell you." Now, Rex Ryan this morning,
No.
he had an interesting stat that he said where over the last 20 years, there have only been 2 starting quarterbacks who throw beyond the sticks less than 30% of the time, and Aaron Rodgers is one of those 2
Yep.
guys.
Oh,
So
dude, and I've been saying that for years. I hate how he just throws these short. I've been saying that for years, which is why I don't think the Steelers are an actual threat at all.
And when he got knocked out of the game, all of a sudden their offense did open. It opens everything up, right?
Right,
You
looked a
can't
little
just have
better.
your
Now,
safeties standing at the sticks guarding these tight ends. Granted, the wide receivers aren't the greatest in Pittsburgh, but at least with Mason Rudolph there, there's more of the field that the defense has to be responsible for,
yeah,
which is going to help your run game a lot.
true. But this is the Bengals. Like anything that happens against the Bengals defense cannot be taken as like truth because it is the Bengals, right? But here's what I will say. So am I any more if the Bears were 4-4 right now versus 7-3, or let's say they were 5-5 versus 7-3, right? Or even 4-6, I would feel no different when they come to play the Packers. I would feel exactly the same as I do now because I know it's going to be this kind of game and it's going to come down to which team makes the last play. Now the Bears have been doing it, but again, that only lasts so long. Yes, the Chiefs did it 10 times last year, but everything comes around. They've done it 0 times this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to see the Bears play against a good team and play well because, and I'm not taking anything away from the Bears, Dave, because yes, they got a good kick return to go and win that game, but McCarthy was awful. He was so bad in that game. And then you guys let him get back into it in the fourth quarter. You had a turnover. You still won the turnover battle, right? But you had a turnover. They get a touchdown. And then you let him drive down the field with a couple minutes left. That's bad. And he did it to you in the first week of the season too. So it's like, I really worry about the Bears when they play a real quarterback, right? And the only real quarterback you've played is Dak, who, by the way, you actually did really well against. So I will give the Bears kudos there. You did well against Dak. Jaden was torching you, and the only reason you won that game is because the wind and the rain of the Pope called the skies to rain, and then it came down and made the ball muddy, and then the Bears got it back.
That's what happened to the Bears this season. We got the Pope.
Yeah, I think it's the Pope. I think it is the Pope. I think it's the Pope because you guys would always lose these games, and you're winning them all now. Right? You're winning all the 1-score games. So, like, yeah. Am I worried about the Bears? No. Am I worried about the Pope? Yes. Yes, I am worried about the Pope.
But remember, we also are playing without our 2 best cornerbacks the entire season.
No,
if
true.
If we can get them back for the last month, that'll be huge. But again, take some time for them to get up to speed. But it's we're not what the national media is. It's a fun story. I understand now when the Vikings were having their year 2 years ago, where they're like, 13-3 and whatnot, and all the Vikings fans, I know they're like, no, just wait and watch. Yeah. But with the Bears, at least, we're like, no, you guys don't understand this. Vikings fans, you expect to have a great record and you expect to choke.
Yeah.
The Bears, we haven't had a great record in 20 years.
Yeah.
I think the last time was what we went 13-3. And this was the year after the Ravens won the Super Bowl. We lost to the Ravens in week 1. Yep. We only lost 2 games for the rest of the year. And realistically, our MVP that season should have been our punter. Do you know who those other 2 losses were to?
It wasn't to the Packers because I know you swept us that year.
No. Both of the games that we lost were to Green Bay.
Oh, it was the Packers. That's right. We beat you twice.
Yeah, we lost to the Super Bowl champion Ravens, and then we lost to Green Bay. It was very shocking.
Yeah, twice. Because Aaron Rodgers owns you. But
no, that was far back in the day. But
that was far. You're right.
That was around 2005-ish about.
Yeah. No, but you guys were
it's been 20 years since we really had an elite record.
And that was the year you went to the Super Bowl, right? And lost to Peyton Manning? Or was it the year after that? That was the year. Okay. So, yeah. No, and honestly, dude, I would say Bears fans, listen, enjoy it, revel in it. And when it blows up in your face, don't be sad. Be happy that you were happy for a time, right? Because here's the thing. You guys are not yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. You guys are not dangerous in the playoffs at all. I don't think the Bears win a playoff game. However, I think this Ben Johnson has proved that he is already one of the best coaches in the NFL. And he is only going to make them better and better and better and better and better. And that is scary. So, like, I don't think 2025 Bears are scary, but I guarantee you 26 Bears are scarier, 27 Bears are scarier, and so on and so forth. So, like, you guys got the right coach. That's what you need to focus on when you eventually, because you guys got 6 straight games against winning teams now. So you haven't won against one. You've lost to the Lions and you've lost to the Ravens, the 2 teams you've played with winning records, right? And I feel like they're going to win, at least they'll beat the Packers once, right? So there'll be one there. And I feel like they'll win 1 or 2 more, and they'll probably get into the playoffs with 10 wins. But I just don't see them continuing this against winning teams, and I don't see them winning a road playoff game, because I don't think you guys are winning the division, by the way. I think the Lions are still going to find a way. I think they are. Unless Green Bay goes into Detroit on Thanksgiving and wins that game, I still think the Lions are winning the division. Do you think the Lions are winning it, or do you think the Bears have a legitimate chance?
Oh God, I haven't even bothered to look forward that much, honestly.
Let's look at
remember
the Lions
I looked at a record. I remember seeing chatting with you earlier, and I think I had us winning 10 games. I didn't bother to look at Detroit.
That's what I think you're going to win too, is 10. So the Lions have the Giants, the Packers, the Cowboys, the Rams, the Steelers, the Vikings, and then you guys. So really, outside of the Rams game, I feel like the Lions could win all of those, but realistically, they only have to win 4, I feel like, to win the division, right?
Yep.
And especially if they beat you the last week. Dude, wouldn't that be cool if the last game of the season was for the division in Chicago against the Lions? That would be pretty cool, man.
That would be incredible.
That would be cool.
But yeah, I only see them losing one of those games, like you said, just that one. So I think, I'd still believe in the Lions.
Yeah, I'd pick the Lions. All right, now let's talk about another team in our division that doesn't have a bear mascot that masturbates. But let's talk about the Green Bay Packers, who basically masturbated all over their hands because they couldn't catch it. It wasn't the sticky kind.
They could have used it beforehand.
Dude, 11 drops, Dave, in the game. 7 by the offense and 4 by the defense. Remember, Dave, when you said Jameis was going to give us like 5 turnovers and we were going to double it? He tried. He tried
right here to your DBs, right between the numbers.
Dude, no, Bullard even had one where it was like in his hands and he was going to secure it. And our own linebacker, McDuffie, came by and swatted it down. That's how good we are at turnovers. We stop ourselves from getting them. I mean, I was so disappointed with the defense this week. And I'm disappointed in the receivers' drops, but like at this point, Dave, we've seen them do this so many times before. Like, it just is what they are. Like, Romeo Doubs is not consistent. Christian Watson is not Christian Watson cannot track deep balls. He cannot do it. Though he made 2 awesome catches in the end zone, because the one that Malik threw to him, the defender's arm was in there ripping it the second that Watson had his hands on it. So that was a good catch. That's a good receiver catch. And then the one at the end was a great catch. But if you actually watch it from the replay behind the line of scrimmage, it is an absolutely perfect throw from Jordan Love in the wind in a nasty day where Jameis was throwing the ball shitty and should have had, like I said, 5 interceptions. So good job, Christian Watson. But I learned a couple things from this game, Dave.
What did you learn?
Okay, number one, I learned that the Packers defense is vanilla with no flavors, no frosting, no sprinkles, no nothing. It is the most vanilla defense on the planet. Because
it can be driven on.
When you have a team on the ropes that's missing their quarterback, missing the running back, and missing the receivers, you don't just sit back and let them get comfortable. You don't just sit back and let them go on 10, 12 play drives. Like, our defense is officially a problem. And that's crazy to say because they're top 10 in scoring, they're top 10 in yards allowed. But you asked me this question, you're like, is that an inflated stat because of possessions? And yes, it is, because we average 2 less possessions than any other team in the NFL right now, right? Because most teams get 10 or 11 possessions per game. The Bills game, they had like 15 possessions each, right? Like 11 to 12 is the average. The Packers are only averaging 8.5 possessions per game over the last couple weeks. So it is inflated because teams are just draining the clock, going on these long drives.
And it's Green Bay's pace of play too, right? That's all a part of we're going to establish a run. We're not going to have any explosive plays. Dude. So their defensive stats is just as much a reflection of their style of play and offense.
So Dave, as a Bears fan, what are you more afraid of, the Packers offense or the Packers defense?
Nothing.
Okay, well, that's not the answer I was looking for. You should have said the
No.
offense. But
No,
what I mean is,
because the defense, you're going to have Micah, but I'm not going to see too much of a pass rush. Caleb, with his base, he's able to avoid stuff. And one of the things they said during the broadcast yesterday is they actually tracked it. Some of the times where Caleb was spinning out of the pocket to get away from the rush and whatnot, he was actually hitting 20 miles an hour. So
No,
he's got that speed to get away, and he's still looking up. So it's one thing if you're doing what Philly did to Green Bay, where you can collapse the pocket on every play. Green Bay can't do that.
no.
Green Bay, you might get a little push here, but then there's going to be a gap that Caleb can squirt through. And the DBs, they can be had. I like the speed of your safeties. I like the speed of your linebackers. But yeah, and Ben Johnson. Excuse me. Yesterday was the first time that we went 3-and-out on our first 2 drives all season. Otherwise, we've been successful on the first drive. The 15 plays that are scripted, move down the field, get in the red zone at least. And I think Ben Johnson, the way he's drawn up this offense, is we can do what Jameis did yesterday, and we can just go, all right, we're going to dink and dunk you. We're going to take a couple of explosive shots, but by and large, I think it's going to be one of those games where each team only gets 8 possessions and who scores 24 points.
Well,
so there's nothing scary about either team here. It's going to make it a good matchup.
No, I'm saying like from a perspective as a coach. So like if I was game planning against the Packers, I don't care what their defense is doing because it's so vanilla. It's whatever.
Yep.
So I'm going to game plan to keep the offense off the field because even though there's these issues with the Packers and sometimes with Jordan Love has shown that he could carry the team and win by himself, right? He can take the team down at the end of the game, just like Caleb has shown this year. He can do that same thing. So like if I'm the Packers, I want to have as many possessions as possible for Jordan Love to make a difference in the game. And other teams are seeing that and saying, we're going to take as much time as possible. We're going to run as many times as possible. We're going to go for it on 4th down as many times as possible. I mean, the Giants, again, they just copied the Panthers game plan from 2 weeks ago and basically the Eagles game plan. Now the Eagles play like that anyway, right? But the last 3 weeks, all they've done is run up the middle, run up the middle, run up the middle, run up the middle, go for it on 4th and short, right? And keep going for it because the Packers cannot stop you. And Hafley will not change his defense. And Hafley will not blitz guys to stop the run. And Hafley will not bring guys off the edge to create negative plays. Hafley plays the most predictable, negative, boring defense I've ever seen. Oh, wait, I have seen it. It's called the Joe Barry defense. We've had that. We've had that. It's the Joe Barry defense with Micah Parsons in it, which is the only reason we have a winning record now because Micah Parsons won the Cardinals game by himself. He won this game by himself on defense, and he stopped Dallas from scoring, which saved us from losing that game, which caused a tie. So basically, Micah Parsons is +3 games in this Joe Barry defense. That's all it is. I have not seen Hafley add anything special, anything creative, or anything useful. And by the way, like I can't remember the last time the Packers blitzed a guy and that guy actually got a sack. It just does like it doesn't exist. Blitzing, and I said this in my reaction video, the play calling is an art. Defensive play calling and when to call the blitz is also an art, right? And perfect example is the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Spagano is a mastermind when it comes to blitzing, and he's been using that for years to change games, right? You have to know when to call the blitz and how to call them, and Hafley has not got a clue. And he got outclassed by Northwestern's Mr. Kafka yesterday. Fuck Northwestern. So
I agree. And one of the things that you notice in the Eagles game last night, where they showed that, you get the 4 guys, they're trying to get the pressure and whatnot. And as soon as the linebackers see one of the defensive linemen get double teamed, he shoots that gap. So it's not even necessarily that they're calling a blitz, but they're saying, okay, if they're going to double team this guy, I got to go in and get pressure. Why not try something like that? Or you just don't believe that you have the horses that are worth getting double teamed on your defensive line.
Or he is trying that and it's just not working because either our guys don't have the instinct, which is crazy because I feel like last year on some of the blitzes they were working and getting through, right? I feel like last year we had a lot more success with blitzing middle linebackers up the middle, but it's also the way we run our defense where we run McDuffie on the outside, right? And McDuffie did blitz a couple times in that game. He didn't do anything. Now he got half a sack, but that's total garbage because Micah made the play. He was holding on to Winston, and as Winston was falling down, McDuffie wrapped him up. So they gave them each half a sack, but that was actually 99.98% Micah Parsons and 0.02% McDuffie. So yeah, I need to see the defense do something different. And now we've got Minnesota coming in. Then we play the Lions on Thanksgiving, and then we play the game against the Bears that me and you and Hype are going to in Green Bay. So by that game, Dave, Hafley better figure out how to coach defense, because I am so disappointed in his performance. I am so disappointed in Hafley. Since the Panthers game, Hafley has been awful because he has not adjusted to this run up the middle. And dude, every single team just keeps running up the middle. And you got to call run blitzes every now and then, or you got to throw them off their game, because if you're not creating negative plays and teams are in 3rd and 5 and they're happy to be in 4th and 2 or 4th and 1 against you, that's a problem. That is a problem, because in this NFL, it is very easy to get 4th downs compared to what it was 10 years ago, right? Because teams have all these exotic plays. They have athletic quarterbacks. Teams will throw on 4th and 1. Did you hear that, Matt LaFleur? Teams will actually throw on 4th and 1, so you don't run and just get your play called out by the defensive line. So, anyway, I digress. The Packers won. So the Packers won. And Jordan Love was
never tell by your tone.
Dude, it was the ugliest. Dude, we were playing a New York Giants team that was missing all of their offensive starters. And they controlled
their
the
top
game.
2 wide receivers, not just
I'm just
neighbors,
saying.
also Slayton. Oh yeah.
They again controlled the game. They had 36 minutes of possession to the Packers 24, Dave. And the fact that Green Bay got 27 points was a miracle, because Jordan Love was carrying the team and he played almost perfectly despite the 7 drops. So, yeah,
it was. I was watching that game on the couch with a wife who's the Vikings fan, and she just kept saying, "Okay, you got to ask Doug and Derek, what the hell, Green Bay? Have they always sucked?"
Yeah. Well,
because she agreed that it just looked awful.
It was awful. And, I will give LaFleur credit, though, because I've been talking a lot of crap about LaFleur and his game plan. I actually thought the offensive game plan was good because they were attacking down the field. The problem was half the time they dropped the passes. Oh, and when Hype gets back, he is answering for Luke Musgrave and his entire existence, because Luke Musgrave should not be wearing an NFL uniform. He had 2 catches and 2 fumbles yesterday. 2 targets and 2 fumbles yesterday, because that second one was a fumble. I thought that was a fumble. I can't believe they called it an incomplete pass. So 2 touches of the football and 2 fumbles. Get that guy a new uniform that has buttons on it, and then put a mop in his hand, and then have him clean the locker room, because
he's where he belongs. He's a fantastic contributor.
Dude, we're going to drop him, and your Bears are going to pick him up. Watch, Dave. Just watch. The Bears are going to pick him up, and then he's going to get like 5 touchdowns in a season or something. It'll be fine. So, no, Luke Musgrave, dude, I'm sure you're a great person. I'm sure you'll never watch this, but like, I cannot wait till the Packers release you. I cannot wait. I am terrified every time he touches the ball. So, yeah, that's my take on the Packers. And you know what? I don't know if the Packers are making the playoffs, but they have to win this game against Minnesota at home, especially after watching the way JJ McCarthy played against you guys. He was so bad. He was so bad in that game until the last drive. Again, in the last drive, he did make a couple throws, and there was a drop here or there by his receivers. I think Addison actually dropped one, right, Dave? Like over the middle.
Yep.
But still, I mean, I am not at all scared of McCarthy. So if the Packers just sit back and let McCarthy get comfortable, and let McCarthy just throw dump offs, and let McCarthy wait for our edge rushers to go on the outside, and he just goes right up the middle, just like Hurts did, and gets, 7, 8, 9 rushes that game for like 100 yards, like we're toast. Like the Packers will not make the playoffs. So I think this is a very, very important game. Very important game. I honestly, Dave, at this moment, Dave, I would not say that the Bears are a better team than the Packers. I'd say we're pretty similar. But I would say the Bears have a better chance of making the playoffs, just because you guys have shown that no matter who you play, yes, all bad teams, but no matter who you play, like at the end of the game, you have a chance. And the Packers have been inconsistent in that. We have come back in games thanks to Jordan Love, but we've also screwed up to the point where we can't come back in games. So I would say the Bears have a better chance of making the playoffs right now than the Packers. Would you agree with that?
Of course.
Okay.
I think,
Well,
you know,
you're full of shit.
us having the better record also helps as well. I think.
Yeah, you got one game on us, but I mean, we play each other twice. So if either team sweeps, that team's pretty much in, and the other team is out. I would say, right?
Yeah, I think the Bears are going to win 3 in a row against Green Bay.
Oh, you think they're going to sweep this year?
We won in January, and
You did beat Malik Willis. That's right. You did beat Malik Willis. I know you guys are so
we
proud of
both
that.
love.
You're so proud of that you beat Malik Willis. Oh
Did we
man,
win?
I know Love played the first half and we didn't need to win, so it was huge for you. But you know, I will no, because this is the good thing, Dave. This game that we're going to in December is going to be a must win for both teams. I feel like.
Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
So this will be a big deal. So if you do win this game in Green Bay, I will give you credit, but I refuse to do it for the game that we didn't care about where Malik Willis played. So you can keep that in your back pocket. You know what? Why don't you masturbate to it?